We're joined by Jesse Hutch today. You have an amazing career. We're going to get around to your latest project, Homestead. But we've got to discuss something before all of this. You and your
Okay.
life in itself, prior to your acting career, is a movie. It needs to be made into a movie. Tell us a little bit about yourself and life leading up to your career as an actor.
Oh my, how much time do we have? Uh,
As much time as
she's
you need.
she's like keep it simple. Uh, you know what? I never acting was never on my radar. That wasn't something I really ever aspired to do. I loved watching movies when I was a kid. I collected movie posters. I was that guy who'd like get to the, back when we had VHS. For all you listeners out there, I would go and I would be like, okay, I'm going to sign out the poster, and then when they're done with it, I get to have it. So, I'd have like the Die Hard poster and all the Jean Claude Van Damme movies and whatever Chuck Norris. I was all into action, so um, that was the closest I'd ever been to really movies and storytelling. I was actually going to college for outdoor tourism and business in Pembroke, Ontario, and I was training and qualified to, in many ways, to be a whitewater raft guide. I was a whitewater kayaker. I did safety kayaking. I did search and rescue, wilderness survival. So that was my jam. That's what I was training in. And then I drowned when I was 21, and that really changed my life. And so when I recovered from that, I quickly evaluated my life and was like, what am I doing? And why am I doing it? And how am I doing it? And within weeks, that completely changed. And I honestly, I heard an ad on a radio, and it was like, blah, 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 modeling, blah, blah, 20th Century Fox. And I was like, wait, they make cool movies. What's that? And it was like this convention thing in Ottawa, Ontario. And I literally left my job, got in the car, and drove 2.5 hours to go to this thing that I had no idea what it was. I got in two big lines. I was there for like 2 hours. And at the end of it all, it would basically was like, if you pay money, you get to go to Rochester, New York and go to like the big event. And I was like, ah, what? It's like a money grab? What is this? And I ended up doing it. And I went to Rochester, New York. I competed in this. It was mostly for models. I was not interested in modeling, but this 20th Century Fox thing was there. And I knew that that was film and they told stories and I liked their movies. And I ended up getting what you would call it is a callback. So my number got called, and I got to go and I did this cold read, which was like an unprepared audition, which I had no idea what that was at the time. And I met Christian Kaplan, who still to this day, he's now actually, I believe he's moved up. I think he's the vice president of 20th Century Fox casting, or of all film and television. And so that was like a tiny little breadcrumb that just started to get laid. And I've been following those breadcrumbs ever since, and that was 24 and a bit years ago. And so that's like the really, really small version. But overall, yeah, it was just a series of events that had to keep happening so that I would A, believe in myself, B, see that there was even anything here that I could do. Was there actually a talent? Is there a skill that can be honed or harnessed or developed? And and I'm still developing to this day. So I love what I do. I love telling stories. I love that I get to reach people, even though I may never meet them. This is an opportunity to connect, hopefully, to their hearts and pull something out of everybody, right? Whether that's a laugh or a tear or a or a sigh or whatever it may be. Every story has the power and the ability to reach someone. So I don't know. I love it.
Your latest project, it's definitely going to be a roller coaster ride for many who have the opportunity to
Mm,
watch it.
yeah.
Homestead, tell us about this new film.
Homestead, oh man, at first it's a massive blessing to be a part of this project. It's not every day you get to be a part of something that you feel actually actually matters. Like it impacts and it in a way that's like just beyond what's on the page. Like the team, for example, the people I work with, the cast, the crew, all the producers, the writers, everybody is just awesome people. Like that's what really got me into it was these people. I like started to meet them and have conversations with them, and I was like, man, you guys are cool. We got to do stuff. Like, how do I do stuff with you? And eventually it led to this Homestead, which was a feature film, which was in theaters December 20th. It's still in theaters. And then when the movie's done, you could scan a QR code, go home, and start watching the TV series, which we have 2 episodes done so far. We're waiting to sort of get greenlit to finish out season one. There's talk of maybe just going into season two as well. I hope so, because I think the show's really well done. And when I watch it, I feel like I'm not even like in it. I feel like I'm just watching something else. I'm like, "Oh, this is a cool show. What? Oh my goodness, what's gonna happen?" Uh, but what is it about? Well, basically, there's an attack in North America on the West Coast. It sets off a chain of events, which ultimately allows us as the viewer to follow a whole bunch of different people to a homestead, and they have to learn how to live, learn how to work together, and I think ultimately be challenged how you're going to live your life, because the world starts to change as the power grid collapses, the internet's down, gasoline starts to run out, food starts to become scarce. What are you going to do? How do you handle your life? Do you use just force? Do you use only grace? Do you just be a really nice person? Do you be really edgy and hard? And I think it poses a lot of questions that say, hey, do you really love your neighbor? Would you help them? Or is it you first? Is it your family first? So I don't know. There's a lot of themes there to be covered, but I like watching things that kind of make me think a little bit afterwards. Like, yes, I love to be entertained. I don't necessarily want to be preached at, but I do love being challenged. And so Homestead does that for me anyway.
You kind of touched on it already, talking about being a neighbor, loving your neighbor, which, is a biblical kind of theme. How
Yeah.
does faith play a role in this film?
I'd say it's a massive base for it, and we do have characters that actually do have faith. They believe in God. We have characters that are atheists. We have characters that don't even talk about it. Uh, but what I do really love, like for example, without giving any spoilers away, there's sort of a teenage couple that's falling in love as part of this story, and there's one scene where the girl just asks like, "Hey, can I pray for you?" And it's like this really awkward, um, uncomfortable, weird, but beautiful scene where I was just like, "Wow, that was really powerful." Like, what a cool just reality that like we're not perfect. None of us has it together. Um, so stop acting like that. Just be real and be who you are and figure out what you're figuring out and believe what you believe. And so I think this movie and series really allows characters to just be, which is, I mean, that's me. That's me in life. I'm going through life and I don't have it figured out. And I mean, I've learned if I if I really start to have this attitude of like, oh, I know the answer. I know everything. Oh my goodness, I'm in trouble. And I got kids, so it's like they teach me every day that I don't know. I don't have it all figured out.
What was it like being part of a post-apocalyptic, oh my goodness, that word, post-apocalyptic film in Los Angeles?
Uh, well, oh man, I mean, I love the genre. I mean, I'm thinking of like Book of Eli. You go back to stuff like that where I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like it's not quite like a war movie, but it allows you to be playing a character who's under like a new kind of stress. It's like a new world situation that for some reason, like I love World War II movies. I love World War One. I love all those situations. So apparently I just gave a thumbs up. That's cool. I don't know what that the emoji settings. Wow. Uh, I guess if I go like this, it registers it. Anyway, sorry about that rabbit trail. Um, I love the genre and the space. For me personally, I get to play um, a character who's a Green Beret, and it's based loosely on a real individual who I got to meet. Now I'm not like playing him, but it's based on a book, and the book is based loosely on some of these people's real life, and so or at least real life responses. Like what would they do if this were to happen? And so to play a Green Beret, to be training with Green Berets, to be representing, our men and women who serve is a real honor to me because as a performer, I want to honor the people that I represent. And so I'm going out and I'm actually training with them, and I'm learning how to, use ARs and pistols, and I'm learning how to secure a location and how do you protect people. And although I don't do this for a living, I'm trying to do my best so that when others watch this, they go, that's it. That's and to be honest, I've been really honored. I've had a number of veterans come up to me after some of these screenings, and it's one of the biggest compliments I could ever get is, they ask me where I served or how long did I serve, or and I've been able to sit and talk with a lot of these gentlemen for the most part. And I had one individual come up to me and he shared a story with me, and he ended up in tears, and it was uh, just a reminder to me of how important it actually is when you're telling stories. And at the end of the day, it's like we're making a movie, we're making a TV show, we're not doing, heart surgery, and yet people's hearts are so touched by some of this stuff. And this guy came up to me and he's like, "Look, man, you reminded me exactly like my buddy. We served together for like 2 decades, and then we came home and he committed suicide." And man, it really hit me and still affects me to this day to hear stories like that, because there's real people going through real things. And even though we're telling stories that may not be quote unquote real, the situations and the scenarios and the heart that I think all of the actors in this movie are doing their best to bring to life it is real heart things, you know. And I don't know, it's a beautiful thing. You don't expect it. Like I didn't expect that. It kind of came out of nowhere and it really impacted me. Like I was like, whoa, like this is a gentleman that I know probably doesn't have conversations like this a lot. You know what I mean? And he was willing to kind of pull me off to the side in the middle of this busy movie theater and have this deep conversation with me and share something from his life that maybe he's never shared with anybody. I don't know. And it allowed me an opportunity to just be in a space with this guy and be a human being and listen and learn and be really impacted by his life. And it was because I was doing what my best to bring a character to life. But honestly, it's like, man, he's the guy who's been doing it. So sorry, I hope that wasn't too much of a rabbit trail. It was just I don't know, things happen in life and you don't expect them all the time, and that was one of those things that happened. So I just wanted to share it because it's kind of unique and special, and haven't really been able to tell anybody about it.
And speaking of that, I did want to ask you, like, playing this role and acting and then getting to hear stories like that as a human being, not as an actor. You shared a little bit about this, but how does that make you feel?
It's a good question. Honored, um, thankful. I I'm touched. Like it opens my eyes. It gives me new perspective because sometimes I think, maybe you guys have experienced this. You're doing your job and you get better at it and you grow in it, and you feel maybe like you're at a place where you're you're pretty good at it. I'm cruising along. I'm cooking here with some gas. And then a moment like that happens and you're like, "Whoa, uh, man, this really there's something real here that, like, I can't even touch it, but I'm feeling it and it's affecting me." And okay, what do I do with this? It's like a little bit of a, hey, a little bit of a check-in, a little bit of a reset. And so, yeah, I just feel really thankful. Like I'm thankful that someone would take the time to come up and open their heart and share something real, because I think there's a lot of people that just maybe feel lost. Maybe they're surrounded by thousands of people, but they feel alone. And man, if any of these projects can do that, like I also do a lot of work in the romantic comedy space, and I have multiple fans and people that will come up and share just heart stories of like, man, I went through surgery and it took me 3 months to recover, and I just watched all these movies and you were in a bunch of them, and it helped me get through. Or I've had people share that they, were going through a divorce and they just needed something to kind of help break up that pain or the monotony of just going, feels like they're in the same place every day right now. and it helped them. And to be honest, like sometimes you don't think of those things when you're making a movie. I don't like going to a scene going, okay, I'm doing this rom-com and it's going to be fun and it's lighthearted and oh, how would I do this if someone who was going through a divorce would want to see it, you know? Like I never think of those things. And yet there's this sort of connection that can occur. And so anyway, it changes my vision on it now. It's changed my viewpoint of going, hey, you know what? Uh, as I said earlier, maybe I'm not doing open heart surgery, but these stories can matter to somebody. And so don't take it for granted. Don't just like think it's just a job and like, man, go into it wholeheartedly, full on, and do your best. And I mean, I always try to do that. But when I have stories like this where I connect with someone personally, it just really it helps me reevaluate and go, okay, just be better, man. Do better, grow, get better. Um, and that's what I want to do. I want to, every job I get, I'm like, okay, I want this one to be better than the last one I did. How can I be better? How can I perform? You know, how can I be more connected? How do I get something on screen that hopefully touches someone that I may never meet because they're on the other side of the world?
Mm. Going back to Homestead, what do you hope people in the audience will take away? What's the biggest thing you want them to learn?
All these easy questions you guys ask. Jeez. What's your favorite cereal? Nope. So tell us. Excuse me. I I hope that after people watch Homestead, they sort of walk away and well, a couple things. I hope that they maybe evaluate where they're at, and by that I mean have a really good look inside and go like, am I happy with where I am? And if you're not, then what is that? And try to pinpoint it and know that you can make a change. B, there's always someone around you that needs you. And it could be family, it could be a neighbor, it could be somebody you work with, it could be a stranger that you pass every single day on the way to your favorite coffee shop. But somebody needs you. And I think that what Homestead really opened my eyes to is community is really important. And how you treat that community and how you're a part of the community is all very important. So don't think that you're just an individual who has no purpose or no connection. You actually matter and you're important to those around you, even if they haven't told you that. Because sometimes I think people around you don't know how to maybe ask for help. They don't know how to tell you that, hey, I'm kind of hurting right now, or hey, I could use some help, or hey, I need to borrow some sugar. So, uh, and it actually changes your life when you go to someone else and say, hey, I see you, you know, how are you today? And you actually look them in the eye and you get down on their level and you just find out how they're doing. And maybe just you listening is one of the best gifts you can give somebody today. So I actually, believe it or not, learned that from making Homestead, watching Homestead, and being a part of developing it because we're actually a community even behind all of that. Like we have text threads. We got I got all the army guys over here. Then we have the full cast over here. Then I have just the crew over here, and there really is this community that we've built that really is special, and it's based on sort of making this material, and this material actually has changed us and affected us.
That's fantastic. Well, Homestead sounds amazing. We're going to let all our listeners know about it and viewers, of course, as well. Jesse, you are an inspiration, fellow Canadian. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you. Now I got to say hi to all the family over there.
Yes.
Hopefully they get to hear this.